The only thing left is a book and a quiet seat in the shade of the verandas overlooking the bay. Nothing except the scenery around offers itself to the eye or occurs to break the monotony of life. Few who have once been under the dominion of the dismal yellow flag would care to be so a second time. The Argus, 26th of May, 1863. It's quite cool. It's after 9 o'clock down here at the quarantine station, and a lot of the buildings have been opened up for a walkthrough by the public. I've just wandered here into one of the hospitals. It's a double-storey complex. I've got to say, it's slightly eerie. I'm the only one in the building. I've just been wandering around its corridors and some of its empty rooms, and if I see two young girls dressed in red dresses on red trikes start riding down the hallway here, I swear I'm going to burst straight through the walls to get out. Oh my god, it's just a window.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done.
Pretty inauspicious location, this one. It's actually drizzling quite heavy outside. We find ourselves undercover at the Jetty Pier Quarantine Office. And to my right off this veranda is the military parade ground for what used to be Fort Nepean. Well maintained. In fact, this whole settlement, all the historical buildings down here on Fort Nepean Quarantine Station, call it what you want, is in remarkable shape. It's got a fascinating past here, all the way back 40,000 years to the Aboriginals first settling the area, and then to more recent times in the 18th century with colonial settlement down here. And there's been a number of different uses for the point over that time due to different threats and different purposes, but I will take you through that shortly. I wanted to leave you with one little tidbit before we get into it. I'm wearing some hot bod socks today. No commercial affiliation whatsoever. I found them in Big W yesterday. They are a 5 fire icon rating. They're like footy socks, pull up mid-calf, and boy, do they have some nice thickness to them.
Things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
Over my shoulder here you can see up the length of the peninsula going back towards Portsea, and this on the ground just here is where the garrison officers that man the guns around Fort Nepean used to live. There's some trolley tracks down on the ground over there, and those trolley tracks were used to transport ammunitions up on top of the hub here for Point Nepean, and in front of me is part of the network of tunnels which were used for protection, I suppose, against potential attacks from either ships or aircraft. Protection-wise, these brick tunnels were covered with a 1.2 metres of thick concrete protective layer under an earth mound. The boys, when they were here, had to use salt water for all their water needs, except for drinking, obviously. Really exciting exploring all these halls and tunnels. Feels just a little bit dangerous. And I certainly hope there's no one out there pinching my 1D camera. Wow, it's just absolutely fascinating. I had no idea. I'm an Australian. I've lived in Melbourne for the best part of my life. And I knew that there was gun placements down here at Point Nepean, but I'll be honest, I had no idea about the complexity of it and the size of it, or the area that it covered. It's just an extremely fascinating part of our history. I know what you're thinking. I must be on the set of an Akadaka music video. Not quite. These two guns here have a very important place to play in Australian wartime history. Let me tell you a little bit about the story behind that. So it was midnight, Berlin time. August 4, 1914. Great Britain has declared war on Germany. Captain Culkin, Captain William Culkin to be precise, receives news and says, lads, load the coal burner. We're going to need as much steam as possible. Let's get out of Port Phillip here at Melbourne and burn our way back to Germany because we're going to go in the clink if we don't. So they take off, but before they can exit the bay, the lads are ready. They are on watch. They're like eagles out here. They receive word that this German ship is trying to scuttlebutt it back to Germany, so they fire a heave-to shot. Not sure what the heave-to shot is. I presume it's a shot in warning.
Sir, Captain Wumheim is on the escape. Fire heave-to, fire heave-to. Fire heave-to!
Captain Culkin sees this shot and says, it's not worth it, let's go back to the clink. So they did. That was the first shot in anger of World War I from any regiment in the Great Britain military. Then, on the left, was the first heave-to shot of World War II by an Australian military outfit. So it changes up here. Stay with me. The story is again Great Britain declares war on Germany, September 4, 1939. Funnily enough, we're not learning too many lessons from the first time round. And a coastal freighter SS Waniora enters Port Phillip without signalling the entry code of the day. Bad day to lose your code book. So barrel 1317 fires a heave-to shot across her bow. Boy, you get on the Morse code pretty hard when you receive that shot, I'm sure of it. Between the quarantine station and here at Point Nepean, there's plenty to do and see. At the turn of the 20th century, this here at Point Nepean was one of the most heavily fortified harbour points in the British military empire. No mean feat, and that all started out because of the gold rush. If you're a history buff of any kind, you'll want to get down here because this one's worth 10 out of 10 Terrys, so that's as high a rating as I could give it. That doesn't mean it's a perfect walk, not by any means. If you want to get off the trail, if you want to feel isolation, if you want to feel solitude, get yourself in a meditative state of mind out in the bush, well, this won't be the one for you because it's within kilometres of Portsea. Keep that in mind when you come here, but if you're happy bumping into random strangers and having a chat along the way, then you are going to love this walk because it's chock full of interesting history. And this quote is from Lieutenant Colonel Morton Williams, who gave the order to fire at SS Platz. I found this somewhat amusing. Listen in. I gave her the signal to stop instantly. When she disobeyed, I fired a single shot across her stern. I would have shot straight through her middle, but it would have blown up Swan Island. Well done, Colonel Williams. We need that island. I'm not sure what for. Probably nature these days, but good job thinking about Swan Island there and not blowing it up. So I hope that I've whetted the appetite enough for you to want to come down and check it out yourself. I'm confident you won't be disappointed. Give yourself a full day because there's plenty to read, plenty to see. And don't ever forget, get Terry and get outdoors.